In our previous videos, we've created the classes in a staff class hierarchy. So now let's write a program that's going to bring all of this together. And we'll call it staff.c++. And all of these, if you took my 205 class, we did an example almost identical to this in Java. I'm going to use a vector to keep track of my staff members. So I'll include staff member, salaried, hourly, and volunteer. And notice I don't have to pull in an employee here because I'm not actually going to work with employees. I'm going to work with derived classes of employees. And just to simplify things up, I'm going to say using namespace standard. So my main method, we're going to have a counter, and I'll use this later, but I'm going to initialize it to 0 now. And I'm also going to calculate total pay. And again, that's going to start off with 0. I want to use polymorphism here. So I'm going to want to put everything into a collection, and I'm going to use a vector of staff member pointers. And in C++, you can't have a collection of references. So we have to use pointers because we do want this to be polymorphic. We're going to store all different types of staff members in this vector. So we can't use staff member type because you can't instantiate a staff member object. And we can't use references because C++ doesn't like collections of references. And we'll call that vector staff. So now we're going to put things in the vector, and we use pushback to do that. So we'll put in a salaried worker, and we'll give them their data. I guess we'll need to go on to the next line for this. And they're salaried, so they're going to have a base level of pay. So then we'll do a volunteer, and we'll add an hourly employee, and we'll say that this hourly employee and the volunteer have the same information except for their social. And so our hourly worker has an hourly rate of 15 and the number of hours they work, which is 40. And let's add one new salaried worker. I think we're missing a 3 in that social. So now let's do a loop. And in that loop, we're going to print out the employee. We'll give their employee number, which probably shouldn't come from a counter. That should probably be something in their class, but we'll leave that as is. And I'm going to do something to print their pay stub. I'm going to write a function to do that. And then we'll calculate their total pay. And we're going to add whatever their pay was to that. We'll increment the counter. So now we need to implement this print pay stub method. And that shouldn't be too complicated. We'll do print pay stub. And we're going to print s. And we'll say current pay will be whatever their pay is. So let's put our const here as well. And I believe that's correct. We're missing a semicolon in volunteer. Wait, no. So it doesn't seem to be in volunteer. I wonder if it's an hourly. No. How about in the header file? Ah, that's a colon, not a semicolon. I'm going to put this just in case the rest of the output broke on it. So yeah, it looks like we still have some issues. It's still saying it wants a semicolon at the end of volunteer. And it's because we're missing the colon here. I think that should fix that. So print pay stub has an issue. Missing a closing brace. So where I'm defining these, it's not liking something. Oh, didn't take off the closing brace there. So I'll compile and run again, and there's some more problems. Ah, I'm also missing a parentheses to close the pushback call. I believe I did that with a capital letter, and I forgot my closing stuff there at the bottom. I think actually I can go ahead and at this point just see out. And that should be everything we're going to do so far in this program. And if we do this, notice it goes to our employees, prints out their name, address, and phone, and what their current pay is. And we have that information for each employee. Now, suppose we want to add the capability of giving everyone a bonus, right? So we're going to give everybody the same amount of money. We're going to give everybody that's an employee $200, whether they're salaried, volunteer, whatever. So let's open up the staff member header file and add a member called bonus. And it's going to take an amount. That'll be our bonus. And I'm going to implement that with a staff member class. And I already have a print method. Let me add this bonus method. Again, I need to indicate that it's from staff member. So in most cases, and the default case is actually just going to return whatever that bonus was passed in. And then let's say for the volunteers, we're going to put in a bonus method. And since they're a volunteer, they're not necessarily going to get a monetary bonus. Actually, let's still give them a monetary bonus, but let's say no matter what that bonus is, it's always going to just return 10. They'll get a $10 bonus whenever everyone's awarded a bonus. I think that will work. And then for employees, everything's the same, but one thing is for the hourly worker, they're going to have a bonus method. And in the hourly C++ file, what we'll do is we'll say that their bonus is going to be whatever that bonus was intended to be, but we want them to multiply that by however many hours they worked based off of 40. So times hours divided by 40. So if they worked over 40 hours, they actually get a bigger bonus. If they work less than 40 hours, if they're part-time, they don't get the full bonus. It's based on how many hours they worked. Now you'll notice for each of these, they have a different way that we can actually give them a bonus. But if we go to our staff member function, we'll go through here. So we'll print their pay stub just so we get their information. And then we'll say cout bonus. And then we'll call the bonus function. And we'll give everybody, let's say 500. Okay, so then the question is what is this going to do? Right, so they all have a different bonus method defined. So let's compile. Actually, let's be generous. Let's give them b divided by 10. So we'll give them the bonus that an employee that worked 4 hours would get. And then we need to put a semicolon there. That was our bug. If we run this, notice everybody gets a $500 bonus. And the reason for that is because we're using these as staff member methods. So if we treated these individually, so for example, I think we have, how about this? Let's update these. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually going to create variables. So when I add them to the vector, actually, I might even have to do that. I need to change their names, I guess. Do Alice, Mitch, John. Instead of creating the pointer here, I'll push back the address of the person. So that'll be Alice, Mitch, and John. For now, I'm going to comment this out. I'm just going to make sure that what I had above will work. Okay, so let me just go ahead and make these pointers. I think that'll make things simpler anyway. And I'm using new, so I have to do that. And then these, I don't need the addresses anymore. And I also don't need those extra parentheses anymore. Okay, so that runs as expected. So now let's go back to our bonuses and we'll say everybody gets a bonus. So you can see we're printing their stuff and everybody gets the $500 bonus. Again, it's a non-virtual method, so we use the type of the pointer to determine what gets called. This is a staff member. But if I wanted to say, let's say there's a special bonus for John. Let's see, what's John? John is salaried, Mitch is hourly, and Alice is a volunteer. Okay, so let's do this. Special bonus for John, and that's equal to John bonus 500. Before you copy and paste, make sure it's right. We're going to do Mitch and we're going to do Alice as well. So we're giving them the same $500 bonus that we'd given them earlier. So let's see what the difference is now that we are using a pointer to their type, not just a staff member pointer. So now notice John gets 500, Mitch gets 500, Alice gets 50 because Alice is a volunteer and we divide that by 10. Now, Mitch is hourly, but he had 40 hours, so he gets the full pay. Let's suppose that Mitch only worked 30 hours. Then, if we compile this and run it, notice Mitch gets 0 because we have a bug in our code. So this becomes 0. So let's divide this by 40 so that we do real division. And I think, yeah, so once we do that, then we do real division here. This gives us a percentage. We multiply by B, and so Mitch gets 375 because he worked 30 hours. So you can see here, when we call bonus with the staff member pointer, everybody gets the same bonus. In fact, why don't we go ahead and just move that up here. We'll do that with the end of year. That kind of cleans up our output a little bit. We don't have to have the 2 loops. So when we call it with a staff member, everybody gets 500 no matter what, because it's a non-virtual method. So we call the staff member function, which is, okay, that's their bonus. But for John, Mitch, and Alice, they get an additional set of money that seems to not be tied to the payroll, but we'll ignore that for now. But then, since we're using the individual type pointers here, that's what method gets called. We call the method from the hourly or the salaried workers class. And I'm going to do a little bit to clean up the output. I think we still probably have too many inlines here. So I'll fix these up, and then that should give us pretty good output. So hopefully this gives you sort of an overview of the difference between virtual and non-virtual methods. It's also a good example of a class hierarchy. It's not the only way to set these problems up, but it's one tool at your disposal.